Tensions are escalating in the Middle East this morning as Israel vows to retaliate after a deadly rocket attack killed 12 children and injured dozens in the Golan Heights area Saturday. Both Israel and the U.S. are blaming Lebanon's militant group Hezbollah for the strike, though Hezbollah has denied responsibility. CBS News foreign correspondent Imtiaz Tyab is in Beirut, Lebanon, with the latest on this weekend's attack. Good to see you. Just what kind of retaliation could we be talking about here?
Anne-Marie, good to be with you, too. Listen, we've been trying to get to Beirut for the last 24 hours, and we were basically unable to because a number of flights had been canceled by airlines who had very legitimate concerns that Israel were going to carry out pretty serious strikes here inside Lebanon, potentially here in Beirut, where I am now. Now, that hasn't happened. We know that Israel's security cabinet met last night after Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu returned back to Israel, cut short that trip in Washington, D.C. that he had when he addressed Congress there. But what we do know is that Israel and Israeli officials has said that they are going to carry out strikes that will, and I'm quoting here, Anne-Marie, hurt. However, they have said what they don't want is to trigger an all-out war with Hezbollah. But it really begs the question, how do you carry out strikes that, again, in Israeli officials' own words, that hurt but does not trigger a major response from Hezbollah? And Marie.
Really, especially when you have the Lebanese Hezbollah movement denying that they were involved in this at all. Now, they have been trading fire with Israeli forces basically since October 7th. What proof have they offered that they were not involved in this latest attack?
Yeah, it's a very good question, and the short answer is that they haven't really offered anything beyond a denial. And we've been talking to people here in Lebanon about why Hezbollah would deny it, some suggesting that small factions may have been responsible, although Israel saying that the munition used in that strike, that devastating strike, Anne-Marie, in which 12 people were killed, many under the age of 15, that it's pretty much certain that it was carried out by Hezbollah. Whatever the case, as there are certainly attempts, not just from Hezbollah, to dial things down to ensure that we don't see a major escalation in violence, including from the U.S. and other regional partners as well. You point out a very crucial issue here, which is almost immediately after Hamas's deadly October 7th attack, Hezbollah has been trading fire with Israel nearly every single day. In fact, I'm going to read some numbers out to you, which I find just staggering. Now, these figures come from Event Data Project, which analyzed a number of these strikes, almost all of them, and they say that combined strikes, cross-border attacks between the 8th of October and the 5th of July number 7,491. Here in Lebanon, over 90,000 people in southern Lebanon have been displaced, over 100 civilians killed, and several hundred Lebanese fighters or Hezbollah fighters as well. And it really just underscores the fact that although there's this huge attempt to not see a major war escalate, we've already seen extraordinary and tragic violence.
Well, you know, there are people suggesting that a wider war is already underway. And when you look at, you see those numbers, you can understand why someone would argue that. Here's the thing, though. Hezbollah, backed by Iran, much more formidable opponent to Israel than Hamas. And Israel is already clearly at war. There must be concerns that the Israeli military just is not ready, and certainly, the Israeli population would not be interested, but the Israeli military is not ready to take on another opponent.
Well, as you know, I've been covering Israel almost for many years, especially since October the 7th. The Israeli military is exhausted. Israeli soldiers have been cycled through Gaza over and over again. They're running low on weapons and munitions. The idea of starting or engaging in an all-out war with Hezbollah, which, as you said, is a formidable fighting force, far more than Hamas has ever been able to be, would be devastating, not just for Israel, but also for Lebanon as well. But some of our viewers at home might be wondering, why is Hezbollah so powerful? Well, it's like you said, Anne-Marie, because of that connection with Iran. And that connection with Iran is connected to what was happening next door in Syria, that devastating civil war in Syria in which Hezbollah fought alongside Bashar al-Assad, the Syrian president, who carried out horrific violence against his own people, the deaths of hundreds of thousands of Syrians, and he is still in power. And so Hezbollah learned to fight. They are far more well-trained and have far more powerful weapons than anything Israel has encountered with Hezbollah in previous conflicts. And so if a war happens, because of what may come in the next 24 hours or so, it will be very devastating. Anne-Marie.
Wow. Things are certainly tense. Imtiaz, thank you very much.